It was a conscious decision to put my face out there as part of the brand because I want people to know Yama Seafood as a family business, not just a company that sells fish, right? We're generational. We have a lot of relationships that goes back decades. And to me, especially when we needed to survive, I felt that it was important to put myself out there and for people to see my face as Yama Seafood versus it just being just some random company that we buy seafood from. And there's really no ties to it. I don't want to just be a fish house. I would love to give people a reason to cross the river and to come to New Jersey, to come to Yama Seafood, to check us out, see where the magic happens, and just be very open about how we do things.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Perfect Bite podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Perkins. The greatest restaurants in the world, like Le Bernardin, Casa Bernocco, and Masa, don't just have incredible chefs in the kitchen. They have some of the greatest seafood you'll ever have the pleasure of eating. And they all get their oceanic ingredients from the same purveyor. Today's guest has taken over as president of his father's Japanese seafood business that was started almost 50 years ago in 1977. While he continues his father's legacy focusing on Japanese principles, he's bringing the iconic Yama brand into the future, including a direct-to-consumer line so you can have the best sushi, caviar, and even uni in the comfort of your own kitchens. Please welcome the president of Yama Seafood, Nobu Yamanashi. Nobu!
Thank you, Sarah. Pleasure meeting
It
you.
is so nice
Thanks
to
for having me.
meet you and have you on. I'm so excited to chat through this because, when it comes to some of the best chefs too, they always say it really comes down to just honoring your ingredients. It's not really about covering them up and trying to do a million things to them. It's just about really letting them shine. And so you and your team are the folks behind that, which is really exciting when it comes to seafood in so many places.
Thank you so much.
Do you ever get the joke like, when are you going to get in at Nobu?
I mean, the joke usually is, "Oh, are you the Nobu?" And I'm like, I'm the younger version of it, but
That's where
But
it's
yeah,
at.
my dad's claim to fame was that I guess back in the 90s or something like that, there was a book published in Japan ranking like the top 100 most successful, I don't know, Japanese businessmen abroad. And he was like one above Chef Nobu. So he was like, I'm a little bit better than him. But now he has way surpassed him. So he's like, yeah, he's doing something way differently. But at the time, it was that. So
I love that. That's good. That's a fun little peek into the future too, of what you all didn't even know what was coming yet. So I do always love to take things all the way back to the beginning. I'd love to start with when you first fell in love with food. What was your childhood like in terms of eating and cooking growing up? What were those favorite bites when you were a kid?
I was born and raised in New Jersey, very American, I guess, but I didn't speak English, so I was probably 4 or 5. I took ESL classes when I went to kindergarten or first grade or whenever it was that they had ESL. So my first 4 or 5 years was literally as if I was in Japan, just living in America. My parents only spoke to us in Japanese, my two brothers. We only ate Japanese food, very traditional household meals like rice and miso soup, some grilled fish, some natto, fermented beans, some raw eggs, like nama tamago is what we call it, but just simple stuff. But yeah, because of the fact that my father was in the seafood business, he definitely brought back a lot of seafood, tuna, salmon, anything. There was moments where he was in love with caviar, so he would just get gifted like a kilo of caviar, and we would just take
I got
some crackers and some spoons and not have any idea the value of the product, and he just like go at it, and it was so delicious. But yeah, we had no idea what that was. It was just something that dad brought back, and we just enjoyed it. But yeah, I mean, very traditional Japanese meals were eaten at home, a lot of little dishes. But yeah, a lot of seafood for sure.
Gosh. So you had quite the palate when you were a kid too, because if you look at some other kids, they might see caviar or some of those other fish and go, oh, no, I don't want that. So you got to have the good stuff at an early age and recognize, like, this is where it's at. There's a time for dino nuggets, but there's a time for dino nuggets and caviar. That's for sure.
I think ironically, growing up, since I didn't have like the traditional childhood as an American, I guess. Yeah, I did want the Lunchables and the Dino Nuggets and I don't know, PB&J and whatever it was, right? So I think when my mom was packing us lunches way back when, we were getting these bento boxes when bento boxes were not cool back in the 80s and 90s. Even eating like rice balls, onigiri, and it was just in a lunchroom with a bunch of non-Japanese kids or non-Asian kids for that matter. Growing up, it was just like, ooh, what is that? Everyone's just looking at you like, this doesn't seem right. I think now it's very different. People are way more cultured and aware of other cuisines, but yeah, it was definitely different and challenging in that sense. So I did weirdly desire like your peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Looking back, it was just, you just wanted to fit in, I
I was
guess.
going to say, like, it makes a lot of sense, especially when we're kids. So I grew up with nut allergies too. And so
Yeah,
not the
that's
same. It
challenging.
was more just, okay, people don't understand, like, I can't eat certain things or I'm not going to take the risk for it. But I definitely get that, especially the wanting something like you don't have and wanting to fit in. But I think it's amazing then that sense you've done a lot of things that have stood out and they've all paid off really well. So I want to hear a little bit more about your career journey. What drew you to eventually becoming someone who wanted to be in the food industry, who wanted to take over the family business? Were you ever working any hospitality jobs when you were younger? And then what drew you to luxury cars? I want to hear about this part of your journey and how you think it really applies to today, too.
Yeah, I guess the only really food endeavor work I did when I was younger was I worked at Quiznos, that sandwich shop, that sandwich franchise,
The
making
toasted
maybe
ones.
$6 an hour. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
with a bunch of my high school friends when they opened. And then just all I remember was taking the end pieces that were gonna be thrown away, cut a hole in it, put some meatballs in there, make our own sandwiches,
Yeah.
and then my dad had a restaurant when I was at the end of my high school. Oh, it was only open for like a year or two, so I did like dishwashing and ate all the leftovers on people's plates, and it was delicious. But yeah, those are really the only hospitality experience I've had. And then when we used to get weekend shipments from Japan, some hamachi, like me and my brothers would go just re-ice it. My dad would just pay us some money. He's like, hey, just do some work and just come in and open these cases, re-ice them, and put them away. Any way to make a couple bucks.
Especially when you're a teenager and you're like, I want the freedom. I want to feel like making my own money. One of my first
Hmm.
text jobs, I should say, it was like the phone girl at a pizza restaurant in town. And all I did was take orders in the back and pick some basil when they needed me to every now and then. But it's great stuff. It gets you those soft skills. It starts to have you recognize the schedule and being responsible. So it sounds like you had a couple different spots before you went into the car side of things. Have you always been a car guy?
Yeah. No, I honestly, I was voted the best car because it was the worst car. My older brother brought this 1995 Honda Accord station wagon. They called it a Batmobile. He even had the inside like shaded and like tinted and stuff like that. It was so hideous, but it was his car. And when he went to college, he went to Japan, so he left the car. So I drove it. And it was also in kilometers, not miles.
Boy,
So
that's
yeah, it was something. But yeah, so to suffice to say, I couldn't care less about cars growing up. Didn't grow up in that environment. Still today, it's still cars a car, takes me to point A to point B. I joined like a financial media startup, tech startup after
nice.
college, and it didn't work out too well. Came back to Jersey and then just was looking for any type of job and then somehow landed with a contract gig over at Mercedes-Benz corporate over in Montville, New Jersey, which is a quick drive away because I'm from Bergen County. And then the contract got extended, but then it was eventually expiring. So then the headhunter was able to get me a job over at Rolls Royce corporate, which was only a town away in Woodcliff Lake, also New Jersey. And yeah, it just kind of sparked my automotive career accidentally in the ultra luxury
Yes.
world. And yeah, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about relationship building because I was the guy that was working with the entire dealer network, trying to help them sell cars, trying to help them piece the deals together, moving around our marketing vehicles. But yeah, I made a lot of good relationships and friendships and learned the exotic world. And it's just the insane events that they would do to get people in the door, what people desired, right? And I think I learned a lot about access and scarcity and demand and how to, I guess, appeal to that clientele. So it kind of kickstarted the whole understanding of how that world works because, like, I'm in t-shirt and shorts all the time and sandals. I don't drive nice cars, don't wear nice things. That's just not who I am. But yeah, it was very interesting learning what that world was and who those people are, where they came from the salespeople side to even the client side. So I got to meet a lot of even ultra successful people, very famous people, and just get to know them as humans in some aspect and get to see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff too, of the dirty side of the business and good and bad of people as well. So the car business definitely has that stigma of, I don't know, like sleaziness and stuff like that. And that aspect is very true in many ways. And I think it really translates or correlates well in the seafood business as well. Like the fact that it's some bait switch and all this other stuff that happens
Yeah.
in the seafood business. So you kind of learn a lot and it kind of was a very smooth transition in terms of like the business aspect of it. Of course, like going from a suit every day to wearing jumpsuit and being up at, 2 in the morning from having normal business hours. The lifestyle is a major difference.
Oh, it sounds like it was really helpful, even when you didn't know in the moment where this would all lead. It sounds so full circle. I mean, you're doing those types of events now that you mentioned, which I can't wait to talk more about. It's interesting how the universe lays the path out for us without recognizing it. I want to hear too, like what you think really sets Yama Seafood apart. What are the products you all are known for the most? And then I'm curious to hear about that aha moment when you decide to join the business and eventually become head honcho, take over from dad.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my father started the business in the 70s and he was a pioneer in commercializing bluefin tuna,
Mm.
I guess American domestic tuna from big eye to bluefin. And he was one of the first guys to sell it at the Tsukiji market in Japan at the time, still the biggest seafood marketplace in the world. And so he was one of the first guys to sell it at auction in Japan. So that's kind of how he started the business. He didn't grow up in the seafood business. Obviously, culturally speaking, Japanese people have a very strong relationship with seafood from a cuisine standpoint. My dad heard about, these bluefin tuna in Gloucester and Boston that's just kind of being tossed back into the waters. The people out there really didn't know what bluefin tuna was or any tuna with fat, toro, the stuff that costs a ton of money now. Back in the day, there was no value. So he just started following it. And then he bought one from a recreational fisherman for like $1. And that person probably thought he was the dumbest person in the world, overpaying for something like that. And I'm sure he didn't have a refrigerated van or anything. I'm sure he just put it in like a van and put some ice in a box or ice in the van. And like I said, nothing that is proper way to do it
The scrappy
nowadays.
way.
It's not, he didn't have any money. I'm surprised he figured out a way to get there. Didn't speak English. But yeah, he just brought back the fish back to New York, and he knew a couple of chefs that desired bluefin tuna because to them that didn't exist in America. He didn't even know how to break down a tuna, nor did he have the tools or even the scale to weigh the piece that he was selling. So he would just say, take the cut you want. He would let them cut it, and then he would just weigh the fish himself and then weigh without it to take the difference and say, here you go, this is 30 pounds. And I guess they were just literally haggling and negotiating prices as it was going on. So that's kind of how it started, with no experience, no idea it's good or bad, just brought it back, started with one, took the money and then bought two, took the money and bought four, and then just kind of rinse and repeat, right? And then he designed a box that can transport well. There were people already selling tuna in Japan internationally, but they were poorly designed boxes that didn't travel well, that leaked. So he's one of the first ones to design a box that could transport well, especially in the 70s where there's really no good refrigeration or cold chain. And it made it more possible to transport a large animal in better condition as that business started to evolve. And then the fishermen are now seeing the value in these guys that are paying more money than they've ever been offered. So then he would teach them to bleed the fish well and how important it is to bleed it quickly, and just kind of go through the whole process of cooling the fish down to its core. The reason why tuna goes from great to bad very quickly is blood is warm
Yeah.
inside. So the longer the blood stays inside the tuna, the more it changes, it burns the inside of the meat, which has the value.
Oh,
So he was educating the fishermen on how to handle it because at the end of the day, they care about money. So he tells them, hey, you do this, I can pay you more money. So one by one, he was chasing tuna all over the country, especially in the Northeast, while everybody else that was also doing similar things would only go to like the main port, like a Boston or something like that. So he would follow it all like the migration patterns.
yeah.
And his kind of main claim to fame when he stopped doing the whole selling at auction was, I guess, back in the 80s and the 70s, tuna was not available 12 months out of the year in the New York City market. So they would only utilize tuna that was caught locally, Montauk, wherever. He was one of the first guys to then start flying in fish from like Hawaii, which is available year round, to be able to then close the gap of not having tuna for 4 or 5 months out of the year.
My goodness.
So he obviously bypassed the Fulton Fish Market in the seaport at the time.
Right.
Any fish that goes through New York has to go through Fulton, and you have to pay them, right? Even if they have nothing to do with it. So that's the way things worked. And he was just like, why would I pay you guys anything? I'm just buying it directly from the fishermen, from
Yeah.
Montauk, from Boston to Hawaii. So yeah, his path to survival in this business was more of physically surviving, right? Because he was a threat to the way things were done. There weren't that many Japanese people in the market at the time. There's a lot of things he had to overcome and survive and to keep things still running. Every day of his life is fighting, right? So even growing up, being the youngest of six, he had an illness as a child and he was bedridden until he was like 2 or 3. And yeah, and he didn't really have a normal childhood. And like I said, everything for him was survivors. That's why he never backed down from these probably very scary moments as an immigrant in a country that he doesn't speak the language in.
God, what a story. And you must be so proud of him. And I
Yeah, I
hope he's
mean,
proud too of everything he's done and accomplished, and that he can see you carrying this forward too.
I mean, we're very Japanese in a sense, so we're not like a lovey, huggy
Yeah.
family,
Good
But
job.
if I can get that, that'd be great. But yeah, complimenting is not a normal part of Japanese culture. It's more like, what haven't you done or what have you done lately? It's like, what could you be doing better? And honestly, I think in a weird way that shaped me to always never be complacent, never be comfortable, always look for better ways to keep improving. Like he always challenged me in sports, right?
Do
I
better.
played basketball, baseball, soccer growing up, and he played basketball growing up. He came to every single one of my sports games, even though he worked ungodly long hours growing a business. But he always made sure that he was present for as many games as he could possibly be. Very passionate about everything, very passionate about everything he cares about,
Yes.
for sure.
Yes. And it takes a lot to be an entrepreneur and to run a business. It takes a lot of passion. So, curious still about when you decided this was the right time to come on over and to switch things. And what do you think has changed? What do you think the brand is like today in 2026 since those beginning years of breaking the rules and really setting an amazing precedent, it sounds like? And would you say you're doing differently?
Yeah. The only real major differences that I've done are just modernize the way in which we
Yeah.
do business. So when I joined, it was literally a pen and paper
Yep.
company using QuickBooks to generate invoices, what we call pick sheets, how we pick orders and pack orders, and order sheets for literally thousands of faxes compiled into an order sheet. So one of my dad's long tenured employees, been with us for about 40 plus years now. He's still with us working, but he would come in at like 10 p.m. and get a stack on the copy machine, the fax machine, probably a whole roll of papers. And then he would just literally cut and paste, glue it onto an order sheet and a route sheet. And he would spend from 10 a.m. to like 3 a.m.
No.
just making that and then making copies. I mean, the amount of paper we must have spent and ink was insane. And then I would have all my department And people come in like an hour earlier just to do the administrative work of tallying up how many packs and then making handwritten labels and scotch tape and then literally tape it on like a tray of uni, sea urchin, for example,
Oh, yeah.
or whatever it is. It would take like 7 or 8 people like an hour just to do the prep work to just then to get out on the warehouse, right? That's the major thing I changed quickly or saw as a really operational bottleneck because it takes like 7 to 8 people an hour or plus a day just to do it. So we're
Yeah.
talking like 40, 50 hours worth of pre-work to be able to just to step onto the floor to start doing the processing. People don't like changes by nature,
No.
right? And
Yeah.
especially coming in as the son of the owner, you know, obviously I took everything very cautiously because I don't want to be seen as the guy that's changing everything just because I can. The title was never given to me, right? My title was warehouse worker. I cleaned the drains, picked and packed, opened salmon boxes, re-iced salmon boxes, went on deliveries, ran the scale machine, packed orders, did inventory, all that stuff. So just like any other warehouse person would start, that's how I started. The first year was exactly that, just doing the grunt work and just learning how the operations work. I guess when people do it for so long, they don't you ask the question as to why are we doing this? Or when I start asking questions as to why are you doing things this way, the answer was this is the way we've always done it. Okay, rather than thinking about is this efficient or what can we be doing differently, the answer always was just the way we've always done it. Whether that's right or wrong, it's indifferent, right? We made money, we had orders, we collected money, we did everything well, and that's it. And then it just wasn't working, so we ended up switching over to an ERP software, which was a major change, right? It was like a mutiny to have people understand why this was necessary.
Yeah. To bring it into the
uh,
future.
yeah, and then oh, like my eyes hurt, my hands hurt from typing all of this stuff now. Now I can't see all the entire order in one sheet, which you used to be able to. All these other things, right? But just ripped the band-aid, just went with it. And luckily we did this end of 2019. And then we were using it daily by February 2020, or like a month before the pandemic, 2 months before the
Thank goodness.
pandemic. Yeah, if it wasn't for that, I firmly believe that we probably would have had to shut down, or I don't know, it would have been very challenging. And then now people could come in, just pick up the packet of paper with all the route sheet, order sheet, the labels that are printed. All you have to do is take the label off and stick it onto the product. Like I said, nothing that is earth shattering by any way, shape, or form, but we just slightly modernized it and created significant efficiencies. Otherwise, like, yeah, the growth we've had since the pandemic from pre-pandemic, it just wouldn't have happened because we would have just had to turn down so much business. So that's like the major change that we did. And then, yeah, of course, during the pandemic, when you have upwards of a couple thousand or like 1,000+ orders a week to having like 50, right? And then having that inventory of fresh seafood that you need to sell. And we don't have like a massive facility. So we had to turn inventory. So we froze as many things as we could right as we were laying people off and trying to turn $1 million worth of fresh seafood into cash. We just made fish boxes. It was ugly, but we just made whole fish boxes for a significant discount, way below cost, just to turn that into money because unfortunately we're dealing with a time clock, a very, very short time clock, and we had to make a decision. So we just took whatever we had, whatever we could. We didn't know what the future was. So we just turned that into as much money as possible and just talked to communities and wherever and just sold hundreds of these boxes. And that's how it started. And then we had a website on Squarespace that our corporate site was on, which is ugly. It was made by me. Like,
I'm not a great designer either. Don't worry. Thank God there are other people who are great.
GPT and Claude didn't exist.
Yes.
So, it was literally whatever I could do. But trust me, prior to me switching over to Squarespace, we had like a little logo with our email address and phone number, and nobody even looked at that email address. So the amount of missed opportunities that we had It was insane. So just even creating a website.
They're like, but we made the thing work. And that's what's important,
Yeah.
right? It sounds like even though you were like, hey, this doesn't seem like the most earth-shattering idea, like just looking at things and having that outside perspective, you were able to really turn it around by saying, we're going to try some new things, guys. And we're going to take it one by one and see what happens. And you did it all during the absolute craziness of the pandemic. I mean, how are things with business today, too, with I don't even know what to call this era. The everything,
Post
the
COVID, I don't know.
post-COVID, but now prices are through the roof on everything. Tariffs, like different relationships going on here. The what is this psychotic era and how are we getting through it is how I'm thinking about it. How are you all facing that type of challenge today, especially given like you do have such a really beautiful luxury product?
Yeah, I mean, whatever's happening in the world, we just got to keep fighting through it, right? So I can complain and moan like that tariff, like, yeah, what am I going to do with 15%, right? All of a sudden, overnight.
Yeah.
And all we can do is just keep rolling with the punches, right? Whatever happens politically, whatever natural disasters that happen. Fortunately for us, we're not pigeonholed into one species or one product or one origin. So, being a distributor that collects sources from thousands of vendors and all over the world, luckily, and access to all these products and vendors and the relationships that we have, we're able to weather most storms, right? And then just be a partner to our customers, right? So, yes, when the tariff happened, every single person called and say, hey, what are we going to do? What are we going to do with prices? And the first reaction everybody has is, hey, I got to change to local and domestic, or I got to change from fresh to frozen, right? And that's a natural reaction. How do I save money? Because restaurants are already getting squeezed. They're not making money as it is. And now we're going to add 50% on top of that. I mean, I knew from the get go, like the people that are going to struggle the most are the mid range to low end volume restaurants that are already on tight margins to begin with and just make money off of selling a lot. I think typically they want to operate in 20 to 25%, maybe 30%. I mean, taking that 15% hit is a significant increase in your cost. Mind you, labor cost is insane as well. But a $500 omakase, going up 15%. So they raise their prices to, let's say, from 500 to 600. It's a completely different category and clientele. So they're way less, I guess, sensitive to those price raises because they can raise prices, right? But when we looked at 2025 numbers, our net profit, our margins shrunk significantly. And the biggest reason was because we just ate a lot of it, right? Some of the farms or some of the producers or vendors ate some of it, right? The vast majority did not. But the reality is the most expensive thing on an invoice is a tuna, especially bluefin tuna, right? So we didn't really raise prices. And costs went up significantly to numbers that we've never seen before. We didn't want to give competitors an opportunity to take that away from us. So we made a conscious decision to keep price as stable as possible and just try to grow in volume. And like I said, I'm just trying not to inconvenience or put more pressure on restaurants because at the end of the day, restaurants are our partners. And if restaurants fail or ceases to exist, then we cease to exist. There's certain decisions that we need to make to be able to work as partners, just like COVID, right? COVID happened. Most of the distributors closed shop because that's what financially made sense. And of course, it was scary, so no one knew. But I had a conversation with all of our leadership team and the people that remain, and I gave them a choice. I said, I would love to stay open if you guys can support me. I mean, I think it's our duty as a partner to our clients that are going to remain open, whether we're in the black or losing money. It doesn't matter, right? It's survival at this point. Everybody needs to eat. And if those that are going to stay open to support the community or to just to survive, I think it's our duty to do our best to stay open as long as possible. And everybody agreed to it. And we all took a pay cut to survive, just keep the lights on. So yeah, we all made sacrifices, but it was a conscious decision, right? We all felt the pride and the need to do this. And that was the turning point. for Yama Seafood, at least for me as like a leader in the organization, that helped me kind of be where I am today, right? And the group that without hesitation followed. So I'm forever grateful. And the people that remain, we have a bond and a kinship that can never be broke. It can never be forgotten,
Yes.
right? So
It's your family. I mean, truly. And I think you should be really proud of just that's really impressive strategy and just thinking ahead of this is a moment right now, but we're going to come out better in the end. And so are our partners and the people that we love and work with if we trust keep swimming to bring it back to the seafood. And it's this tough thing where food is so beautiful because it brings us together and there's so much artistry and creativity behind it. But you do got to think if I want to keep doing this, you have to be smart at business too. And it's that matter of eat or be eaten. And what are you going to do so that someone else doesn't get that meal and doesn't take it away from you? So it sounds like you made the right
absolutely.
decision. I'm really intrigued. Like, of course, your biggest customer base sounds like your restaurant partners and the folks that you're working with there. It's higher volume, but you also have this consumer business that's spun up out of the last few years. I'm curious about how that all started, how it's grown, and what are your favorite products that people can buy from you all directly so that again, maybe like someone wants to host a cool sushi party at home and do something impressive like that.
Yeah, everything came with COVID, right? I mean, I never in a million years imagined selling a $50, $100 order, right? We're just used to moving cases that are worth thousands of dollars. A loin of bluefin tuna is a couple $1,000s, right? To then being like, oh, we have to pack hundreds of these boxes for like 75, and then we have to pack it very, very neatly. Our wholesale boxes to restaurants, like put in a
You're
box, put icing and
you're
delivery. I
right.
get it there as quickly as possible. The fish has to be great, but the box itself, like, our wet hands touch it or, it gets a little wet, like all that, all those details matter. So when you're trying to surprise and delight consumers at home who have less experience and in handling seafood, you got to assume that they have no skill or experience handling. You got to try to make it as simple as possible. We just took the wholesale mindset of there isn't this general knowledge that bluefin tuna can't be frozen in a regular freezer to guys this. So, all this education and warning signs and just information you have to put on the product, on the website, everywhere of just how it works, right? Because everyone that loves tuna is just used to just seeing a piece of tuna on a bed of rice, nigiri, whatever, hand roll, and just eat it. So they don't really know what goes in it, how to store it, the different parts of it. So there was just a whole lot of learning, a lot of trial and error, a lot of mistakes, a lot of feedback from clients, from beginners to experts. But yeah, it has morphed into this thing where we have a very strong community. Like 55% of our customers are repeat orders. And yeah, people love it, right? I've been able to meet so many of these people that are supporters of Yama Seafood. And I personally met many of them, had dinners, lunches, met them at events, whatever it is. And it's just been so cool. And like you said, food makes people happy. Food connects people, right? And food is so important in life. And especially with the power of internet, YouTube, all this, you have so many of these foodies during COVID that just self-taught how to make sushi and better than I can ever do it myself either. And they're just like super nerdy and into it, right?
You're
Really,
building
that's what someone said.
community, and you're fostering this really cool brand forward into its second generation. So I know it feels like you sell food every day, but you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot.
It's been a very interesting journey, right? This whole world of social media and just in our segment and industry that people follow. When people notice you or whatever, the brand, the company, you as an individual, it's weird. It is definitely not something that I ever imagined would happen. And I don't do it for the sake of like being famous or anything. That's what you have to do sometimes to build a brand. And for me, it was a conscious decision to put my face out there as part of the brand because I want people to know Yama Seafood as a family business, not just a company that sells fish, right? We're generational. We have a lot of relationships that goes back decades, right? And to me, especially when we needed to survive, I felt that it was important to put myself out there and for people to see me, see my face as Yama Seafood versus it just being just some random company that we buy seafood from. And there's really no like ties to it.
Yeah, it's a huge part of the storytelling. I love your social media, and it does stand out in terms of purveyors. It's not just like, here's the product. It's important to see the people that you're connecting with here too. And I totally get it. This is a podcast, but as you know, we're recording on video, and there are plenty of days where I'm like, here I am, glammed up in my kitchen. The cats are nearby, and it feels funny because you're like, but we're just chatting. What do you mean? And it turns out, again, this is just the era we're in now, and people enjoy it. And so you got to give it to the people.
It's just either you do it, get used to
Yep.
it, or just get left behind, right? And I just think it's the way we market ourselves and our brand now. And if you think it's just going to sell itself, unless you got something no one else has, even if you don't market it, no one's going to know, right?
I'm trying. I mean, so you connect with folks in these moments like private events in Miami. You're a trained tuna carver. So you've got these really cool experiential moments. You've worked with Rolls Royce and Moet Hennessy. I'm also wondering, especially because you have B2B and you've got B2C that you're juggling and balancing right now. Do you think you'll ever do like Yama storefronts? Or somewhere that's beyond a warehouse, or do you want to stick to D2C probably?
I don't know if I'll ever have a storefront, but we've been looking for a new warehouse for a couple of years and hopefully we're getting closer to one. But my goal and intention is to have a proper test kitchen where I can invite chefs, guests, whoever. And also on top of that, I'd love to have like a little speakeasy omakase
Yeah.
counter behind some walls that opens and closes so I can host private events or just, whatever, just whatever we can do with it, because obviously that's a huge part of who we are and the industry that we support, right? That we work with. So, yeah, I want to create an office, a warehouse, an environment where guests want to
Yeah.
come, they're excited to come, and to be able to be proud to show our facility off to anybody that walks in any given day, right? We've had a lot of chefs visit our facility now, and I'm proud of it, of course, but it's old, right? It's been around for a long time and it needs a lot of facelift and it needs a lot. And I want a state of the art facility that we could show off. And hopefully that's the way of the future. And yeah, like I said, I want to not only walk around and show the warehouse to the chefs, but even have like tastings and whatever, because we have access to so many new products, right? We do tastings in our makeshift office room right now, and it's just a table, right? So
I love the
yeah, I
speakeasy
think it's
idea. Like, how special would it be to have a tasting that you're like, oh, that came right off the floor, just got processed? That would be really, really
right.
cool. Maybe team up with some different alcohol brands again, do some sort of pairings. Like, I see this
Absolutely.
for your future. I think it will be a hot spot.
Like I said, it's not intended to be a restaurant by any way, shape, or form, but I don't want to just be like a fish house, right? I want to be a destination. New Jersey is not an easy place to get to for most New Yorkers, for sure. But we all go to New York City,
I
right?
know.
But
Works one way. Why can't it
what
come
is
the other way?
exactly? I would love to give people a reason to cross the river and to come to New Jersey, right? To come to Yama Seafood to check us out, right? See where the magic happens and just be very open about how we do things. There's nothing secretive, right? Yeah.
Well, as someone who is not a New Yorker, I was able to figure out how to get to Jersey City, and it wasn't so hard. We're going
Yes.
to keep saying the word. I think it's so important too for us to put a spotlight and to love our like secondary markets too. There's so much cool stuff going on. Like before you and I started recording, like Razza Pizza and all these cool things just happening across a river. Come on, guys, you can do it. There's a train, there's boats, you could drive. It's possible.
Absolutely. 100%.
Nobu, last few questions before we get to the world's best and hardest question, because I know you're a busy guy here. As you're tackling all these different elements of your own business, what do you like to do to fill your own cup? How do you like to relax? What are some fun things that you're doing when you're not working away?
It's a good question. I used to love playing sports. Can't do that with my hours, and every time I try to do sports, I injure myself. I have two beautiful young daughters, young girls. So, especially with the hours that I work, it's very hard to see them. The changes that I'm consciously making. Now I'm consciously making the decision of going out more, like working on the business than working in the business. It took me 7 years to really get out of my head of like what a leader needs to do. And for the longest time, I felt like I needed to be physically present in the business, in the warehouse, be there just like everybody else, grinding it out, staying long hours. And I had to go through a lot of coaching and with other executives from other businesses, networking to really realize that, hey, like it's okay. We've been able to accomplish what we did. And in order for this to continue, I need to trust the people that I have in place to run the day to day. And then I grow the brand, grow the business, meet more people, build a network, and do the stuff to continue to better Yama Seafood as an organization. Because I know the people that are there can do a hell of a better job than I can from a cutting perspective, packing, sourcing, collection, whatever it is, delivery. So, like I said, it took a long time because coming in as a second generation and knowing all of these people that's been there for 20, 30, 40 years, and they've known me since I was an
Baby.
infant, toddler, newborn, whatever. Right. And culturally speaking, yeah, it's a Japanese culture is all about like seniority and respecting your elders and all that stuff. So I really had a hard time regardless of whatever accomplishments the company had, to admit or accept that I've done enough. And I mean, I still battle with that from time to time, but I made the conscious decision of I really want to be there for my family, but I love working. And yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last year and without sacrificing my family. I don't want my daughters to be like, where's daddy or who is he? And I really want them to see me as a father that's present, but I also want them to see me work hard. So I really want them to understand what hard work is and nothing in life is given to you and you have to earn it. So yeah, I think there's a fine balance. We're going to Japan, taking the girls for the first time in a couple weeks. And I'm terrified because it's a
Journey.
13-hour
Yeah.
jet lag and a 14-hour trip to get there. But I really want my girls to feel more connected to Japan. And this is a great way to kickstart that. My brother has a kid, so they have cousins there that they've never met, great aunts and uncles, my entire family. Like I'm the only one in the States. So my brothers, my cousins, my aunt, uncles, my parents, they're all in Japan. I'm excited to bring them there for my kids to really see what Japan is and understand what it is so that hopefully when they come back, they'll want to have more connection to Japan.
That is going to be so special. And balance is really hard. And I think you're being a great role model for them because, like you said, you're trying, but you're working hard. And that's what they're going to take away. So I'm excited for you
I hope
guys. I'll follow along on social and see how the trip goes.
will do. Thank you.
What do you think you're most proud of? What do you want to continue growing? And what do you think is next in the journey?
Well, I guess I'm most proud of the balance that I'm trying to create for my team at work. When you're a new company, when you're starting out, you don't have a choice, right? Just grind it out. Don't even look at the clock. Whether you're working 8-hour days or 16-hour days, it doesn't matter. It's just survival, right? And that's how my dad functioned. And that's how everybody around him operated that way because it was just figuring out how to sell, collect, be better with minimal resources. When you don't have money, all you can do is work harder and longer than everybody else, right? And that mentality really persisted throughout, right, for decades. Now we honor all those holidays. We just had 4th of July off, which was on a Saturday. So we actually took Friday off, which is unheard of. So we had a long weekend. But because of that, our Thursday was insanely busy. But yeah, that's like the thing I'm most proud of is the fact that it's okay now,
Yes.
to take time off. So we're focusing on people, right? People creating that balance and just creating more, I guess, capacity, right? We encourage everybody to teach and share your knowledge and expertise so that you can take time off. And we do a lot of staff meals. We do barbecues. Like we try to create an environment where you can have a little bit of fun, but when we're working, we're working. When we're playing, we're playing. I'd really like to continue to focus on growth of people. It's just continue to empower people, right? Because the more they can do, the more they can get compensated, the more they feel pride in the work they do, the more
Value.
they feel like they've achieved and value. And yeah, these are all valid and valuable for everybody.
We all have to
Absolutely.
keep reminding ourselves that because it's been drilled into us for so long that our very hyper productivity culture doesn't want to highlight that, but it's okay. It's okay to relax. It's okay to watch some trash, as I like to do. I love some trash TV. And just, it sounds like you're really focused on a healthy environment, which is amazing. Nobu, this has been fantastic. It's always bittersweet when we get here. A reminder for folks, this is called The Perfect Bite because it's not just a perfect bite of our friends across the food and beverage industry, but because we each have our own perfect bites. Something you've eaten, whether it's a family recipe, something you had on vacation, just a meal, a bite, something that every time you think about it, it makes you smile. So, Nobu, what is your perfect bite?
Man, I don't know. It's so hard. Such a loaded question. It's gonna sound cheesy, but my favorite food is sushi for sure. Just fond memories of going to Tsukiji Market with my dad at the time, and there's this famous sushi restaurant
Mm.
right on the market that people wait lines at 4 or 5 a.m. And I still just remember sitting on the counter, being a 7, 8-year-old kid and just ordering whatever we wanted from the counter. And my older brother was ordering like uni, kura, otoro, negitoro. And this guy's looking at us like, what is wrong with you? But yeah, man, we just like what we like. But yes, my favorite bite is the bluefin tuna sushi, like chutoro, akami are my favorite bites, uni. And it just kind of reminds me of growing up and obviously now being in the business. So it's just kind of full circle of what I grew up being around and that just being part of our life to now it being a way of life, I guess.
Perfect for you.
Take it how it is because there's so much variety, so many ways to prepare it. It's just delicious.
Yes, it is. Oh, I love that. Very, like you said, very full circle. And I always love analyzing people's answers. And this is a good one for you. Thank you again so much for your time, your wisdom, your amazing stories. I cannot wait to see how you guys continue to grow. Can you let folks know where to find you? So, social accounts, the website, and any other partners or upcoming events that we should know about.
Sure. Our website is yamaseafood.com. Our e-commerce site is shop.yamaseafood.com. Our Instagram handle is at Yama Seafood. I do a LinkedIn post every day as well.
Nobu, thank you again so much. This has been awesome. And everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. This was Nobu Yamanashi's Perfect Bite.
Thanks for tuning in to The Perfect Bite today. You can listen to future episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Thanks in advance for subscribing, rating, and reviewing. You can follow The Perfect Bite on social media at Perfect Bite Pod. Now go get something good to eat.